I think that the Supreme Court has spoken emphatically that the decision of the Tamale High Court was made without jurisdiction, and so the court has quashed it and is hereby quashed. So Honorable Nyindam still remains the MP and the people of Kpandai. So we call it still maintained.
To thank my lawyers and also use this opportunity to thank the Supreme Court judges for the ruling, because it's clear that the people wanted to change the will of the people of Kpandai, but the Supreme Court has affirmed the will of the people, and I'm most grateful to them. I also want to thank the party from the head to the bottom, that is national, regional, and the constituency, for the support they've given me. And the people of Kpandai, I'm sure that when you are in Kpandai today, you will see the joy of the people.
Now, as a party, we are aggrieved by this decision, and therefore we will advise our candidate in the matter regarding the next step to take. But the court is a court of equity and of law. We should be interested in the gazette notification published by the Assembly Press under the authority of the Electoral Commission that was brought to Parliament, for which people like me were sworn in. That cannot be a gazette that will be discounted by the court, because it's a public document. The NPP cannot benefit from that gazette notification and come to court and say that that is not the proper document.
Right. So you heard Gary Nimakomafo, who led the NPP legal team. One of the members of that team is here in the studio to the Supreme Court with a certiorari application seeking to quash, and actually got the Supreme Court to quash, completely annul what the High Court in Tamale did. And you also heard Roxanne Nelson Dafiamapo Eche Kwame Dafiamapo, right? He also is in Parliament. He is the Majority Chief Whip, and suggesting, he actually said that they may want to consider the opportunity of a review to the Supreme Court to review this decision. Some say that one, he should forget it because it won't work, because 4-1, if 2 judges are added, it won't change anything. And it's most unlikely that you get any of the 4 judges who held for Yindam change their mind in the next, if a review was mounted. So here in the studio, Fatima to Abubakar, who is former Minister for Information and spokesperson to His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Dr. John Osai Kwapong is Democracy and Development Fellow of CDD Ghana and Project Director, the Democracy Project. Kwame Boafo Akufo, Esquire of Ekropong Ekwapim, also joins us. Kwabena Abankwayeboa is Vice Chairman of the NPP and Presidential Elections Committee member, right? He is former National Treasurer of the NPP as well. Sofo Tanko Rashid Computer, the man we spoke about a while ago, who said that they are going to be conducting a parallel, checking of the NPP's results. And I said he's such a provocateur. He's right here. He's Deputy National Director of Elections of the NDC, of Elections and IT. And he's also the CEO of GIFEX, that's the Ghana Investment Fund for Electronic Communications. Joining us from his base in the United States of America is the surgeon, Dr. Arthur Kobina Kennedy, physician and political activist. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for making time to join us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Because you have to go and vote, This is an important vote for you. Let's begin and see if we can make time for you to be able to go and vote. So this is the outcome of what happened. The NPP has been happy, and people are questioning the NPP's integrity, that when the court held otherwise, you took the judge to the cleaners, particularly Osahe Alex Markin. But now you are happy. You are singing that they have done well.
Anyway, Samson, good morning to you. Good morning to your distinguished panelists who are with us in studio and virtually, those who've joined us virtually this morning, and also to your cherished viewers at home. First of all, the NPP's track record really is the fact that we believe in the courts, and we, at least in our most recent dispensation, starting from when we sent the very first historic presidential election petition to court in 2013, you would realize that, if you would recall, that His Excellency, the former President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, set a precedent. The world was so proud that the petition that the President sent, the evidence that was adduced, the statements, or what the cross-examination of His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia at the time, we were so confident, based on the records on our pink sheets, that we had won the election. But to the admiration of many, when the court brought the judgment, and the judgment was not favorable to us, the grace that was shown by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, even in the face of disappointment, was admirable. We have always followed that footstep and track record. Of course, the story was different during our time when His Excellency Nana Addo became president. The NDC was always up in arms, calling their lordships every name under the sun but the children of God.
Unanimous
they
FC.
Called them Unanimous FC. They said the courts were packed with NPP judges, and they needed an opportunity to come and reset the courts and to balance the court. I don't know what that balancing act meant.
But recently, I think Markin did worse.
So it cannot be compared to that, in all honesty. Respectfully, if there is anything following that, probably it is some of the character traits that some of our people have learned from the NDC. But it is not a generic posture of the New Patriotic Party as I know it. We are lawyers when we go to court, just as the farmer goes to the farm and the trader to the market. Our workplace and our business place is the court. So at no point in time would I disrespect or put out certain words that will bring the reputation of the court.
We're talking about your party as represented by the minority that had a press conference and use unspoken words.
I am saying that was an exception. The judge and the judiciary. I am saying that was an exception to the rule. And if you have followed how NPP treats the courts, that has not been the general rule. I haven't done that. I've been going to court with Gary. Even in when we went to Tamale to move the application for stay, if you follow the proceedings, if you have the record of proceedings, you would realize that we're not even blaming the judge. We said that if the issue of the dates, the facts of the dates of filing the originating petition was brought to His Lordship's attention, we were confident that he would not have entertained the matter in the first place. So hold on, I'm coming to you, get into the substance, but I just want to get a feel around the table. Yes, Prof, what do you say? Did you expect that this was the likely outcome? The EC had already, started the plans for the rerun.
So, good morning to the co-panelists. Good morning to the viewers.
And I realize you're taking an interest in the judiciary yourself, in the Afrobarometer work.
Yes. So I didn't expect that outcome, but I would also say that I was pleased with that outcome, in the sense that if I go back and look at how we've handled disputes about the outcome of a parliamentary election. There were two cases that immediately came to mind. I think it was the 2004 election. I think it was Akwetia, where there was some violent incidences in a number of polling stations, leading to contestation about who was the rightful winner of that election. And the remedy by the court was, okay, just go back to those polling stations where there were issues and then rerun them.
Right.
And then I also thought of the situation with Ablekuma North, which was, let's go back to the problematic polling stations and rerun them. If you also go back to the Supreme Court decision in the 2012 petition,
right,
the minority opinion said, look, if there are some infractions as part of an election, separate them into two, administrative errors and legal infractions. If there are legal infractions, then your remedy is where those legal infractions or errors occurred, then you go there and you fix it.
Not the entire.
So when I looked at the Kpandai ruling, I was quite surprised that if you look at the facts of the case, I mean, there was no dispute about the fact that certain polling stations and their results were problematic. So I was not sure why the judge's remedy then was throw the whole thing out and have a do-over, as opposed to let's just remedy the problematic areas.
Nonetheless, did you find the reaction, particularly from the minority group, reprehensible? Now, the Afeomaking also issues a statement and says, this is a victory for the rule of law and for democracy. Some of the judges that they seem to have made adverse comments against them, particularly about Justice Georgina Wood's, Gertrude Tokonu's removal, are in this suit as well and held for their candidate. I'm talking about Justice Amadou Umoro Tanko, for example. So those who held the four who held in favor of the quashing the decision of the High Court, Justices Amadou Tanko, Yoni Kolendi, Samuel Kwame Adibu Esiedu. Does that name ring a bell to anybody? And then Henry Kofi. It was Justice Gabriel Scott Poorman who dissented.
You know, partisans tend to have this love-hate relationship with institutions, right? When the outcome of institutional decisions favor them, they tend to be very happy with the institution. And typically when it doesn't favor them, then they tend to, have issues with the institution. So if you look at historically how they've responded to court rulings or even other kinds of institutional decisions, the institution is great if their pronouncement is in line with their expectations or what they want. And in fact, you also see that reflected in how citizens respond to the question of trust in institutions in the Afrobarometer survey. I always say that when a citizen's party is in power, the party they say they feel close to is in power, you see their level of trust go up a little bit more than when the party they prefer is in opposition.
So what you may find their unprincipled conduct eventually affects the perception of the
precisely
person about the judiciary.
Exactly. You see that reflected in various rounds of the survey where trust keeps changing depending on whether your preferred party is in power or not, to the point where even in one of our Afrobarometer surveys, there's even a high perception that Ghanaians believe judges tend to be very influenced by politics than just looking at the law in their decisions.
All right. Yes, so what do you say?
Well, let me say good morning to you and then my co-panelists and the cherished viewers across the globe. Council, we accept the decision of the Supreme Court. We are a law-abiding political party, but we disagree with the ruling. We disagree with the ruling totally. Total disagree. And we are waiting for the reasoning behind of their ruling on the 6th of February. They indicated it to come out on the 6th of February. Then we advise ourselves appropriately. Because if you look at, let's set the business straightforward. The Supreme Court doesn't have jurisdiction over the substance of the matter. If you look at the Enabling Act, the PNDC law 284, that talks of election petition. Under Article 99(1) of the Constitution, it is only the High Court that goes into election petition matter. Supreme Court doesn't deal with that.
Supreme Court is a supervisor of the realm.
But it doesn't go into
if something goes to the High Court or any other court, the Supreme Court has power to review it.
We agreed. But we are saying that when it comes to the substance of the matter, going to the nitty-gritty of election petition, under Article 99(1), it is the High Court. That one there is I defer that one to you. Now, when you look at the matter critically, what the Supreme Court did was based on technical issue of gazette, not the substance in itself. If you go and look at the ruling of the High Court, page 151, it's very clear that the election was properly rigged. The judge makes references to those things. And I have the ruling, I can make it available for you, for them to tease out that portion where the judge, the learned judge, mention of a polling station recording 1,422 votes. Council, you know that we don't have a polling station like that in Ghana. That has a voter population of 2,000. The highest we have is 750. 750. If you have more than 750, it will split into two. But this is a kind of voting that occurred in Kpandai constituency. Now, why are we battling the issue with Gazette? And that is
so for the Gazette, you mentioned the matter of, is it overvoting?
That is what is pointing at.
Okay, that there is a polling station.
A polling station.
Which has less than 1,000, but there was recorded over 1,000 votes.
1,000, yes.
That's, what do you make of what Dr. Osankwaphong says? In that case, hold that the elections have been, damaged in this particular place. So go and correct it, rather than say go and do a whole new election.
That was not the only one. Don't forget, Honorable Nyendam won about 3,000 votes. In two polling stations, another polling station reported 1,200 votes. So that means in two polling stations, he has scored almost 2,000 votes. So what are you talking about?
So impeach those two.
So we are saying that is why the judge was looking at it. And we said that when we sent our reliefs to the High Court, we sent 14 reliefs. Mm-hmm. And then at the case management, this 14 was consolidated, set out for trial. 3 issues were set down for trial. And one of them was we were asking for the nullification of the entire results because of the infraction of Regulation 37 and 39 of CI 127 by the electoral officer and the presiding officer, the returning officer of the constituency. We gave copious evidence and tendered evidence to show that they violated these enabling 2 regulations of the CI 127. And we convinced the judge to believe that, yes, they didn't do the right thing. They violated those 2 regulations. And those 2 regulations borders on the collation of results of parliamentary election. And it was very clear about it. And so when we did all this cross-examination with them in order to, the ruling came out on 24th November. And it was very clear. I am not surprised my colleagues' opponents ran to the Supreme Court because they know if they had gone through the process of appeal, going to appeal court, they were going to suffer another defeat over there. Because I don't know what kind of new evidence they were going to adduce based on what we had cross-examined them and the electoral officer. So they decided to go on this tangent, of which we are saying we will go into it. And when we filed our affidavit in opposition to their application at the Supreme Court, we're citing them for fraud, the 2 of them. And I'll give you the elements of fraud that we are going to pursue on that.
In your main petition in the Tamale High Court, you were clear about a particular number of polling stations that have been affected, correct?
I said we have set out 14.
I understand
and one of the lists was what we are talking about.
I understand that.
About the number of polling stations.
How many of them?
We had set out about 51 of them.
41.
No, 41 of them, the polling stations.
Right.
Indicating that they should look at this 41 because we're making reference to the regulation 37 and 39 of
the judge was faulted by many members of the public, including some lawyers, that what was before you was to determine 41 polling stations where the voting was allegedly rigged.
Counsel,
so why do you come to a conclusion by saying that let's go have a rerun, I've annulled the whole thing, go have a rerun in the whole constituency?
Counsel, at case management, these 14 reliefs, when we consolidated it into the 3 issues set down for trial, one of the reliefs among the 3 was the nullification of the entire results of the 152 based on the infractions therein. So it wasn't that we're asking the judge to look at only the 41, but we're asking for the judge, which is the 3rd issues set down for trial. The last one, in fact, I wanted to read that one, the 3 issues for trial.
All right.
And the last one was...
You're going to the merits already.
Yes, and that's why we're saying. So it wasn't only that we were going in for only the 41, but we were also asking the judge to nullify the entire thing because it violating regulation 37 and 39 of CI 127.
Yeah, right. There was a relief like that.
On that.
Now let me go to Dr. Arthur Kennedy. Just, brief preliminary commentary on the decision of the Supreme Court, particularly also looking at the posture of the politicians and their commentaries when decisions don't go in their favor. Some of the judges, they actually pinpoint them, name them, and try to, as it were, pit them against the public. So as you can see, I had mentioned in the removal process, some of the judges sitting in the removal process, at least one is here. And then the removal process, the issues that have gone to court. Some of the judges who have also, dismissed some applications by, in the process are also here. And somehow, all those people have held for the Matunyindam. Of course, with the exception of Justice Puaman, who dissents. And we should get to know his reasons why he dissents.
Good morning to your distinguished panel and to all your viewers. I think that this case, it is not the details that matter with respect to my learned colleagues, even though I'm not a lawyer, I'll call them that. I think that it is the broader context. And Dr. Sekwapon begins to tease out some of them. I mean, these Afrobarometer surveys and the mistrust of the courts and others didn't occur in a vacuum. And it is not just the courts. There is a perception that our institutions, including the police and others, are very political, and that when you are in power, it seems that a lot more things seem to go your way. I think that what happened, the thing that gladdens my heart is that it is a victory for the courts, to the extent that the NDC said there is a need to rebalance the courts or reset the posture of the court. I think this shows that maybe tentatively we are heading in the right direction, because Samson, the history.
But the judges who sat on this, who was appointed by the current regime, I need to check again. They are all from the Akufo-Addo appointments.
Yeah, my point though is that that is why I say we should say that cautiously, because this decision in effect telegraphs the independence of the courts, contrary to the anxieties that a lot of people expressed. Of course, politicians are opportunistic, that when things don't go their way, they call the court names. When things go their way, then they praise the courts. But to be fair to them, the history of our courts have not been good in terms of electioneering ruling, that almost invariably those in power tend to get more favorable ruling. So the doubts that people have, the doubts that the public has some grounding, and even and we can go all the way back, but I don't think we have time. Even in the Fourth Republic, remember the Amo case, 1996 to 2000, when Amo lost a case, I think that Ayawa Sowogon or something like that, and took it to court, and the case took 4 years, and then just before the term ended, the court came back to say that he had won. I mean, such things are blatantly political, and not only that, which is why I said this is not just about the courts. If you recall, there were a number of constituencies that were in dispute just after this election, and there was the question of whether the police could provide security for the counting and other things. It may have been that the excuses were genuine, but a lot of people saw through it and were suspecting that maybe the political winds were beginning to blow in the ranks of the police. So I think that this decision, I think the details are being argued there by the lawyers very well, but I think to Dr. Saikwapon's point, the anxieties of the public and their mistrust have grounded, and particularly if the MPP people are going to be honest, when you look at the kind of things that happened in the last 8 years and how the Supreme Court seemed to respond to certain people's concerns with alacrity. We empanel cases in the morning and hear things the same day, and then other people's cases languish for months. It is very difficult to look at those things and not be convinced that there might have been some element of bias. But I think we should praise the court that what has happened is a good augury for the future, and I hope that it can continue for the sake of the independence of our judiciary and its reputation.
Thank you very much. So I return to Fatih and the question about the substance of what was before the court and the court's decision. Why do you think that the court could not have taken any other decision apart from this one?
Okay, thank you, Samson. When we filed a motion invoking the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court for an order of certiorari to quash the judgment delivered by His Lordship Justice Batland, I had no doubt in my mind that this action will succeed because it ought to succeed. My brother was talking about the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction over the substantive matter, and that we were trying to find some ways and means to use technicalities to reach the Supreme Court. So
this is in fact a technical victory. It's a legal technical victory.
So I am coming to that, but the context in which he made that comment, I just wanted to clarify that your remedy only lies in appeal from the High Court to the Court of Appeal. When the High Court's jurisdiction is properly invoked, if the High Court's jurisdiction was not properly invoked...
Just hold on one second. I want to listen to Dr. Educhum, who has just voted.
Okay.
Suspected. And today history has been made at Bosomtwe. This is the first time a presidential aspirant, a flag bearer aspirant, has voted in this constituency. So it's a historic moment for us, and I'm excited that this day has come. I'm looking forward to good news in the afternoon. But I just want you to know that I'm very appreciative of the work that has been done by the leaders of this constituency, rallying around me to campaign for me, to do whatever it takes to ensure that we end at the finish line with pride. So we are ending with pride. I'm happy that I'm here today. Tell people that when I was growing up, if somebody had told me that one day you run for the flag bearership of a major party, the New Patriotic Party, even if the person was a prophet, I would have said, no, not me. But today I'm here. Divine providence. Have taken me
coming in, you saw the mood of the delegates, the kind of appellations they were showering on you. What came to mind?
What came to mind is that even though Sir John has admonished us to fear delegates, I can connect with these delegates. They are my own, and I've served them well, and I hope they will also reciprocate by saying, we thank you for your service to our constituency, and as you aspire to move up, I want to support you.
And have you heard of any situation in any constituency that you are not happy about? So far, is the process smooth for you in the pressing generally after going through same?
None of my reps anywhere in this country has reported to me that there's something untoward. So far, so good. And I hope it continues that way.
Doc, jokingly, who did you vote for?
I voted for Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, son of the land of Bosomchi.
And is Dr. Osei Yao Educhum winning by the close of polls today?
By the grace of God. Everything is in the hands of God. I've done what human beings can do. The rest is left to divine providence and to the grace of God.
All right, so all the, those who are doing the polls, those who are giving the prophecies, you didn't see that he will win, right? He's going to win, according to him. Yes, so let's get back to Kpandai. And you were talking about the jurisdictional question that Sofo Rashid raised.
Yes, absolutely. He was saying that the Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction on the substantive matter, and that we use technicalities to go to the Supreme Court to get a favorable judgment.
And that's
if we were confident, why didn't we follow the substantive matter and go through the appellate process, of which the Court of Appeal actually has a jurisdiction when it comes, the final appellate jurisdiction when it comes to parliamentary election petitions. I am saying that based on the facts, we could not have properly invoked the appellate jurisdiction when the High Court did not have jurisdiction. The appellate jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal would only arise when the High Court's jurisdiction was properly invoked, and they looked at the substantive matter and subsequently gave a judgment that is not favorable.
But you did both,
as soon as, yes, I'm coming to that.
Both.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
You did an appeal to the Court of Appeal, and then you did a certiorari to the Supreme Court, which you are entitled to.
That is what I am coming to. The respondent, not the petitioner, the respondent applicants changed solicitors and then brought our law firm into the matter. The moment we came into the matter, that was exactly on 24th November 2025, when the judgment in Tamale was delivered. Of course, what were we going to do? To file a motion, a notice of appeal at Tamale at the High Court, and also an application to stay the execution. But whilst we were investigating, it came to our attention that this particular, the originating petition was filed on January 25th, 2025, which was 32 clear days after the publication of the notification of Gazette. And also realized that the security for costs was paid on 27th January 2025, which was 34 clear days after the publication of the notification of Gazette.
Why are these two important?
This is important because of Section 18 of the Representation of the People's Law, PNDC Law 284. And with your kind permission, let me run, if you would allow me.
Yes, please do.
I will run your audience through Section 18 of PNDC Law 284. And Section 18.1 reads, an election petition shall be presented within 21 days after the date of the publication in the Gazette of the result of the election to which it relates. But a petition questioning an election on an allegation of corrupt practice, and specifically alleging a payment of money or any other award to have been made by the person whose election is questioned, or to have been made on behalf of and to the person's knowledge, may be presented within 21 days after the date of the alleged payment. This is in relation to petitions, timelines, but we are interested in the first part, that you ought to gazette, and when the gazette notification is published, you have within 21 days, because this petition was to challenge the declaration by the Electoral Commission. It did not relate to
when the EC makes a declaration, and they have not published a gazette, you can't go to court.
No.
You have to wait until they publish a gazette.
Absolutely.
And when they publish the gazette, you have within 21 days.
Absolutely.
If you go after 21 days, you are lost.
And that is what I'm coming to.
Right.
If you look at section 18.3 of PNDC law 284, it says 18.3, the time limit provided by this section for the presentation of an election petition shall not be extended.
Good.
This provision is strict. And the Superior Court of Judicature, in their election adjudication manual, the volume 2, it has also interpreted all the provisions in the Act 284 to say that if you fail to file the petition within time, if you fail to pay the security for costs, there is nothing that the courts can do to salvage your case. The NDC's case, the petitioner and his assigns, their case is that indeed they had filed an earlier petition and they were misled by counsel for the respondents that their petition was premature, and it is on that basis that they withdrew. They said they were informed that the Gazette was on 6 January. And it is on that basis that they withdrew that petition and filed this originating petition. But Samson, I put it to them that that is absolutely false. It is false because their original petition was filed on 23rd December 2024. As at 23rd December, all these Gazette notifications that they are talking about in contention were non-existent. There is no single record of any Gazette notification, not from the EC, not from the NDC, not from the NPP, not from Ghana Publishing Company Limited, shows that as at 23rd December 2024, there was any publication. So if you want to send your case to court and you file it prematurely, it means you have not properly invoked the jurisdiction of the court. And let me also remind you that when they filed in opposition to the application that what they filed was premature, and at the time, the lawyers for the respondent believed that the Gazette was on 6 January. They did not even wait for the trial judge to make a pronouncement, to hear the matter and make a pronouncement on it. They quietly went behind the scenes to withdraw that original petition because they were convinced that it was premature. That being said, if you look at the deposition of Honorable Martin Yindam, their own originating petition, it should all put together, it should tell you that our contention, even when we wanted to appeal, was that the court is not Father Christmas. The court will not set up a case for you that you have not set up for yourself. You cannot just walk into court and ask for any release at all and they will grant it because you have come to ask for it. You have to show cause. And in a parliamentary election where we have 152 polling stations, both the NDC and NPP polling agents endorsed the pink sheets in 150 out of 152 polling stations. And you go to court stating that there were widespread irregularities in 41 polling stations. That's your contention. And my brother has been making reference to 2 polling stations where they were overvoting. But if you look at the total valid vote difference, which Honorable Martin Yindam won with 3,734 votes, if you take the entire votes in those polling stations that he's been making reference to out, it would still not be sufficient to change the outcome of the elections.
Which is mostly the principle of election petitions, that if what you are challenging for the other party, if they dash all of it to you and it still will not change the results, then the results will not be annulled.
Absolutely. Okay. And the second issue is that they've been saying our client brought an extract to court showing that the Gazette was on 6 January. The majority chief whip, he has also been sitting on TV and showing a Gazette from 6 January, which is a complete book, which is not the extract that they got from the processes that were even filed by our clients. That being said, the contention came out of a genuine confusion that the gazetting was done on either 24 December or say January. But when in another case that we were working on, which is the Republic versus High Court, Koforidua, the NSC Alkumi case, the ruling that came out was to the effect that the court was convinced that the Gazette was on that the Gazette notification that was published, which includes Akwetia, which also contains a notification for Kpandai, was done on 24 December 2024. So that should have settled the matter. Because if you go to Ghana Publishing today, as the EC has been also reiterating in their defense, that the only Gazette notification you will find on record is what I am holding. And if you open it and you look for Northern
Region... What you are holding is a Gazette dated when?
It contains two provisions. We have... I'm trying to open the Northern Region for you to see where we can find Kpandai.
You had marked it.
I had marked it, but it just it fell off. But if you look at the very last page of this Gazette, on page 35, you would realize that the publication relating to that was done on 6th January relates to only 4 constituencies.
So, in fact, on the 6th of January, there was a Gazette
absolutely.
But it does not affect Kpandai.
No. Kpandai
which constituency does it affect?
The 4 constituencies that were published on the 6th of January are Dome Kwabenya constituency, Okaikwe Central constituency, Tema Central constituency, and Techiman South constituency. All others were published on 24 December 2024. And this happened because you realize that when we were working on the Ablikuma North constituency case, the Mandamus application, it got to a time they had to consolidate other similar cases that were seeking such release from the court because they wanted the court to compel the EC to complete the collation of the results in some outstanding constituencies. So that is what resulted in this one. But the remaining 272 constituencies, according to the courts, and this Gazette shows that they were all done on 24th. And that used to be the position of the NDC. And that is why they got a favorable pronouncement so far as the gazetting was concerned in the NSC Alkumi case. But because they want to win both ways, all of a sudden they abandoned the 24th position and rushed back to the 6th January position. And I heard their lawyer in court say that, yes, indeed, the notification of Gazette was published on the 24th, but it was re-gazetted on 6th January. I don't know what she meant by re-gazetting, but I am saying that on record, there is nowhere that you will go and conduct a search and get any notification of Gazette contrary to what is contained in this document. It does not exist. And we are saying we had to go to the Supreme Court because we were dealing with procedural issues.
So the NDC's candidate filed, that is it
Mr. Ansala Wakpao.
When did he file his petition?
First, 23rd December. And withdrew it and filed again on January 25th.
And filed on 25th of January. And by this Gazette notification, what is your calculation?
It was supposed to be within that 24 to 17 January. There or about 17 January. That would have fallen within the 21-day timeline. But they filed on 25th of January and paid the security for course on 27th. So as a matter of fact, if the courts can say that the facts, nothing else, is that the Gazette notification was published on the 24th of December 2024, there is nothing else to be done.
So they missed the timeline by a day.
About 17 to 25th, that should take us to about 1 week.
1 week?
Yes.
And then
the
also miss the
about
security for course, which you must do around the same time.
Around the same time. And
okay.
There is no extension according to
So from where you sit, the Supreme Court couldn't have done any other thing than to endorse what you put before them.
Absolutely.
To annul the results.
Because jurisdiction goes to the root of every matter.
Right.
Because even if you go to Antenna, they have jurisdiction. There are cases you will file before Antenna and they will say, oh, this one, then let's go to Ahimfie. Okay. It is beyond that. Right, so they say they will not discuss Yausapon because of the weight of the case. How do you expect to go to a competent court of jurisdiction and say the jurisdiction was...
So let's hear from Tanko now. What do you make of this? This is a point you concede and you can't do anything about because the facts are against you.
You see, Counsel, my sister has made our work easier. I told you that we have filed in our affidavit in opposition to the application at the Supreme Court. We're citing them for fraud. The Electoral Commission and the NPP. She has made our work easier. And I'm very happy with her presentation on the element of fraud.
Too late.
Not too late. We are taking that leg. In fact, we are advising our candidate to take that matter up with the CID, to go into the matter of fraud. Look, perjury is a serious matter. They filed on the 6th of January, 2025, a motion with a supplementary affidavit on 21st January. And attach this 6th January gazette that my sister is trying to run away from. It is the NPP that brought the 6th January gazette and swore an affidavit that this gazette was a proper gazette of the 2024 7th January election. And in that gazette that they filed at the Tamale High Court, included Kpandai. I have it, I can give all their dissent. In fact, their motion, their supplementary affidavit, and then the exhibit of the 6th January. They did it. They swore an affidavit. And you know, when you swear an affidavit and you lie before a court, it's perjury. And these people are, otherwise, this thing that is happening, Counsel, we have to take it seriously. Because false representation.
When they filed, they didn't ask you guys to withdraw.
No,
you didn't wait for the court to rule and say, in fact, what they filed was accurate. You decided that, oh, what you have seen looks like that's the correct thing. So you withdrew.
You see, when we filed on 23rd, at that time, Electoral Commission was flip-busting. They didn't want to come out. We know we're forcing them because we conducted the election on the 7th. Up to 20th, and you are not gazetting. 21st, there was no gazette. 22nd, there was no gazette. I would say, what is happening to this EC? We have to go to court and force them out from their slumber. So that was the reason why we filed on the 23rd. And so when we filed on the 23rd, quickly, you know that this Electoral Commission, I always describe it as crooked Electoral Commission. Quickly, NPP got hold of a gazette dating 6th January 2025. Where did they get it from? Where did they procure that gazette? That is a question we are going to go in. That is the root cause of the fraud that we are talking of. They fraudulently procured this gazette, attach it to their motion and affidavit, trying to get the judge to dismiss our application.
If you have a document,
yes,
and you believe in that document,
yes,
at the time you had it,
yes,
that will not be fraud.
That is why I'm saying that. But when it turned out that the document was procured fraudulently, that is the element of fraud will arise.
The document that you then relied
on. Because the EC themselves was a party to the matter. The EC was silent about the issue. When we withdrew the matter and filed on 25th, because we believe them.
But the substantive point is that,
yes,
in the end, you concede that you were completely out of time in filing and also paying for security for cost. And the law is plain that there will not be extension if you miss the time. So as the evidence go by the Gazette notification that we have seen, which is the only one available, which the Supreme Court has relied on once and then again the second time, you got it wrong.
No, Council, you see, what happened was this. The 23rd one, of which they came on the 6th January to file. I'm talking of their motion that they filed in dismissal of 2013 was filed on the 6th January. Interestingly enough, the gazette that they used was also on 6th January. So where did they get it? The coincidence was so clear. They filed on
you have canvassed that point.
So I'm saying that, yes, we agreed that our 23rd had a problem, so we withdrew that one. And there was a cost against 7,000, so we had to pay for withdrawing that matter. So when we filed the 25th one, then 27, we paid the cost, the necessary, this is based on Section 18 of
those two instances.
Yes.
Those two instances, you were out of time.
We are not out because we're relying on the 6th January Gazette, which they brought, and the court accepted it, and based on that, we filed. So we're within 19 days. That was our point. But because we based on what they had filed before the court.
Right. So my last question I put to you is based on the Gazette that we are now using. You admit that you got it wrong.
No, you see, we are still not agreeing because that is why we are citing the EC. Why would the EC come out with two gazettes? Because they, according to the NPP, when they brought it, they said they got the gazette from the Electoral Commission.
The EC says there's always been one gazette.
So they must come and answer the question before the CID.
Okay.
Because that one.
So you agree that this Supreme Court panel, they had no option on the basis of these facts to hold the way they held, correct?
That is why we want to wait on the 6th of February to see the reasoning behind it. And then because in open court, lead counsel for the applicant, my good friend Gary Nimako, when he made his submission and sat down, the president of the panel asked him a question on the issue of the fraud. The first interested party raised issue of fraud about that matter. Why is it that he didn't address the court about the issue of the fraud they raised in the affidavit? And I'm happy my sister added to that. He rose up and said it was a genuine mistake. How can this be a mistake? When you make false representation before a court, expecting to get a ruling out of it, and then the ruling went against you subsequently because one went to case management and all that, at the Supreme Court, you now say it's a genuine mistake.
Right.
So that matter must be looked at critically.
Let's proceed, but you would recognize that for the party to say that something was a genuine mistake would negate your attempt to raise fraud. Or quickly, let's hear from you before I go.
Okay, so Samson, as for the CID investigation, probably they should start from the Majority Chief Whip, Honorable Dafiamapo, because the version of the 6th January Gazette he is also holding. Apart from what he is holding, I have never seen it anywhere before. But the most important issue is that in the case of Abebiu versus Kakari, the court said that estoppel of any form cannot override statutes. So if the my brother was trying to dodge whether or not the court only had one option. If it was filed out of time, it was filed out of time. He also admitted that they did not file the first petition because there was a publication of Gazette notification. But because they were impatient, they became frustrated that they waited from 20th, the EC was not publishing.
They did it to compel the EC.
Yes, so they decided to go and file. So if you withdrew such a petition, how can you say the withdrawal was based on some misrepresentation that was made by us? You knew it was premature, we knew it was premature. You were not even going to wait for the court to even make pronouncements on it. And finally, in Ghana, we are in an adversarial system. When you are going to court, I don't go to court expecting my opponent to do my case for me. I don't go to court based on what my opponents will say to me. I go to court on the strength of my own case, my own research, convince myself that I have the proper facts before me. If they had taken the time to do due diligence, to research, to file a search at Ghana Publishing Company Limited, to satisfy themselves that they were filing before time, that would have been the right thing to do.
But
you
the other
cannot
side of the
benefit from
coin,
your indolence.
The other side of the coin is that it may not be a question of indolence and the other things you're raising, that lawyers are supposed to be officers of the court. So there is an obligation on the lawyers to always tell the truth and deal with the facts before the court. So if you are brandishing, a gazette notice, which does not emanate from the EC, they have every right to question it, that something fraudulent was going on.
And I'm saying that because some of the publications were done on the 6th and some were done on the 24th, if genuinely someone was saying that, there is a notification, I have an extract that shows that Gazette was done on the 6th, it can be a genuine mistake. And I am convinced that at no point did our clients intend to mislead the courts. And even
the further proof of that will be that the 6th January Gazette, we can find only 4 constituencies. But as Rashid suggests, in the one that you put in the Tamale High Court, included Kpandai. So how did Kpandai find itself on that one when the 4 did not include Kpandai?
I believe they have also admitted that at some point they were also confused with the amount of information they were getting from interviews, from publication. You ask people for Gazette, someone is showing you one document or the other. The most important thing is that throughout this process, either at the High Court or the Supreme Court, at no point in time have we insisted that with the benefit of hindsight, this is what we insist it is. Because at the time that our clients presented that document, they genuinely believed that that was the case.
And that document was presented in the name of it emanating from the Electoral Commission. And the Electoral Commission now insists that it doesn't have any such document. So do you suspect that there was some sort of fraud that must have happened to have had a Gazette notification to include Kpandai when a Gazette notification, the Gazette notification of 6th does not include Kpandai?
Not at all. If at the time of receiving an information, you believe it to be true, and based on that belief, you go ahead and present it, it is up to the court to also satisfy itself that it has jurisdiction. If the court had investigated and said, no, this document, I have checked with EC and Ghana Publishing, and they said that is not the genuine, they could easily throw it out.
It's not the job of the court to go checking because of the adversarial system.
Yeah. So
if
they should have also checked.
If the court in Tamale also had reliance on that Gazette notification, which apparently included Kpandai, when in fact what has been published at the Assembly Press contains 4 constituencies without Kpandai, then do you really blame the court? Because at the time, the thing you were relying on, the court too had reason to rely on.
I wouldn't blame the courts. And that is why I've insisted that even when we went to move the stay application, we kept saying that if the information as we have it now was within the knowledge of his lordship at the time of the trial, he wouldn't have entertained the matter. But I am saying that it is not allowed under law for NDC or their candidate to claim that they didn't do any research, they didn't conduct any search, they trusted that their opponent, someone that they were seeking to take a seat from, would go and bring documents to come and support them to prosecute their case. And even when we make mistakes, they will not do the necessary investigation to satisfy themselves that it is the correct one.
Let me go to Dr. Kennedy and return to the studio with Dr. Osai.
Last one, please. In all the documents that they filed in courts, they have only been talking about fraud, no particulars, at no point in time.
That's not allowed by law.
They also believe that it is a genuine mistake, so they cannot even particularize it. They haven't done.
So in our judicial system, anybody who alleges fraud is supposed to give the details of the fraud. We call it particularization, particulars of the fraud. If you file a process and you claim that somebody has conducted themselves fraudulently and you don't provide the basis for it or the details for it, you'll be thrown out. That's what he's referring to. Now, Dr. Kennedy, having listened to the 2 contestants in this matter, what is there some revelation you are catching, and what does that lead you to your commentary on this matter?
Commentary is that it seems that there was fraud at some level. The question is where it occurred. It is possible, as Madam Fatimata says, that indeed they were relying on documents that they believed to be true, but it of course begs the question about where the document they were relying on came from. And given the circumstances, it is possible to go back and find out where it came from. It appears as if it was procured from somebody from the Electoral Commission or from the publishing space. So it should be possible to go back and find out the source of the document.
Or that in this day and age, somebody picked the 6th January gazette notice containing 4 constituencies, excluding Kpandai, but found a way to impose Kpandai on that one for the purposes of the courts.
Well, that's why I said that there must be fraud somewhere. I think that somebody knew that the question is who knew. But I think that somebody knew that Kpandai didn't belong in that list and that it was put in there. So it is possible to go back and find out how Kpandai got in there. I do not believe Kpandai got into that list spontaneously. So it can be pursued and found. So I think that is a good avenue to pursue, because we need to clean up our electioneering and litigation processes. But listening to them and talking about the jurisdictional issues, election petitions are very complicated. If you remember, in Bush versus Gore in 2000, there was also arguments about jurisdiction. Remember when the Florida Supreme Court ruled, they went to the U.S. Supreme Court, which sent the case back with instructions for certain things to be done. They were not satisfied, so they took the case again. So, and the Supreme Court, in effect, based on the circumstances, we should be careful about saying that it doesn't have jurisdiction in certain cases. But I think that this whole thing is a victory for the courts, and I hope that the very brilliant attorneys that we've seen there on both sides can help the court and the country come to the right decision. And if some bad things were done, then whoever was responsible for that should necessarily be punished, so that we can move on with clear consciences.
All right. Dr. Sakrapo, what will you also say about this? As far as the NDC is concerned, there's another leg that they are not going to give up on. Even if they are giving up on the outcome from the court, which looks like it's almost impossible now, they may pursue a criminal process targeting somebody.
Yeah, I was quite, I found it instructive about this December 24th, January 6th issue of the Gazette, and which one is the quote-unquote real Gazette that either had Kpandai as part of it or not. I'm wondering if, as in the litigation process, was the EC called upon to validate, which one is...
The EC was a party from beginning to the end.
To the end, okay. And did they sort of validate to say, okay, it is the December 24th one that has Kpandai or not? Because ultimately, too, they have a role in ensuring the integrity of our election. So I can see why there will be questions about which one is really the real quote unquote Gazette that had Kpandai on it or not. And hopefully that gets resolved, because ultimately I think it speaks to the heart of our electoral system and the integrity of our electoral system. And we cannot have disputes even around some of the things that ultimately will be needed to even resolve an electoral dispute.
Okay. Interesting comments there. And Frederick Samson says that the unprincipled conduct of some politicians on the judiciary is worrying, if not hypocritical. The minority party's attack on the High Court judge in the Kpandai case was unwarranted, to say the least. Lawyers are trained in how to challenge decisions when aggrieved, not to publicly attack judges, especially when the remedies of appeal and certiorari are available. Look at their incessant attacks on the Chief Justice, Bafuboni, by the minority. What are we doing to ourselves? I pray we are able to find ways to resolve all electoral disputes within at least 6 months after elections. God help us. Thanks for your message. And we'll be sharing your messages. Let them come in. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And
Council,
today is the NPP's big day, as they are presently voting across the country. Over 200,000 delegates voting, 211,000 delegates are voting. And then we're expecting that hopefully by 2 p.m. everything would have been done, and we'll get to know whether Bawumia maintains his leadership, as in for the flag bearership, or he will be undone by Ken Ejapon. Yes.
A quick one. We filed particulars of fraud. It is here. I can send them to you. Okay. My sister, is he? Look, look at it. It's here. We filed it on. Look at it on safe. Safe January 2025. One way referring to their application and other thing. And so we attached all this in, and that one they were referring to the Republic versus High Court Commercial Division expert, the one that we're dealing with. So we filed particulars of fraud. And that is why we are saying that the issue is not that.
What you are referring to is a certiorari application.
Yes, that's why we are saying that.
Particularized fraud.
No, you know, the way you see the certiorari application, they upload it in the form of judicial review. That's how they
a certiorari is a
of course. Review. So that was the way they've sent it and other thing. We were looking at why would these people did false representation at the Tamil High Court, expecting that they got favorable ruling. It didn't go their way. They abandoned the process of which they applied for the appeal. But you see, something must be clear here. Council, and I'm happy Professor Kwapong made mention of that. The Electoral Commission was a party to this matter.
Yes.
At the case management, the Electoral Commission was seated. They didn't say anything about the safe January gazette. When the NPP was flouting all over the place and banding it around, and that thing, the Electoral Commission Council was seated when we were setting down issues for trial.
It's not to be objected to at the case management. It's to be objected to when the cross-examination is going on.
And that is why we say that, look, they filed their written address to the court on the 14th of November 2025. And in their written address, they didn't make any statement about gazette notification or audited. The Electoral Commission was silent about it.
He who alleges must prove. So if you allege, did you prove it?
Of course. Why do we have to allege? Because the matter traveled on and nobody raised issue about gazette.
Okay.
And cross-examination and all that. And when they were filing their written address by their
I get your point.
Yes. So,
okay, so let's move on. We need to move on from here. Today is the NPP's big day, and we will continue to bring you our coverage on it. And we'll be, as we continue with these discussions, we'll let you understand what is going on. A while ago, Osei Edichum did vote in his constituency in Jachi Pramso, Jachi. My guests in the studio here are Fatima Abubakar, former Minister of Information, and she speaks for the President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. Dr. John Osei Kwapong of the CDD is also here. Kwame Boafo Akufo of Ekropong should have joined us on the first issue. He is not online. When we get him, we may hear what he had to say. But if you remember what he had to say when this matter came up first, Kwabena Bankwa will join us, and Sofo Tanko Rashid Computer, Deputy NDC Director of Election and IT, and also CEO of GIFEC is here, and Dr. Kpandai Kennedy, also joining us from the United States of America. Earlier, he has said that he could call us. He called us learned. He said, "My learned friends," and sought to qualify it. Doc, you don't have to qualify it because the professions that are learned, according to history, the law is there, the law profession is there, and physicians are there. So it's a learned profession. Thank you. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Because we dedicate time also to the NPP's flag bearer votes that is currently ongoing. Hopefully in the next 2-3 hours, maybe the voting should be over, and then we begin to see, people begin to see their level where they belong. And so let's quickly go to this other issue that made the headlines in the course of the week and see if we can make some sense out of that. And then whilst we are doing that, we will also be keeping an eye on the voting that is going on. So far, it's been smooth. If there are any issues anywhere, trust us to bring them to you. In the NDC, those who want to contest for their internal, party elections, as in for party executives, must resign from government appointments before they can do that. And then, aside that, at least you must resign at least 6 months, before filing the nominations. Now, also in the Supreme Court, there is a suit that has been put before the court. And what is this suit about? It is a suit by Professor Frimpong Boateng, Nyaho Tamaklo, and one other that are asking the court to strike down what we have presently, what the NPP is doing today, that this should not be allowed in the parties. If you have to vote for a flag bearer, it should be open to all members and not a select group called the delegates. These are the issues we're going to look at now. Let's hear a bit around these issues and then come to the studio.
Any person seeking to contest for a party position who currently holds an office to which he or she was appointed by the president or government must resign from that office at least 6 clear months before filing nomination forms. 2, chairpersons or members of boards or persons in analogous positions are exempt from this restriction. Why? Because they are not full-time employees. So those who are full-time employees are affected. And the following are those who are affected. The affected officers under paragraph 1 include, they are not limited to: A, ministers and deputy ministers; B, chief executive officers, managing directors, their deputies or analogous officers; C, metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives. Those intending to contest at the constituency level shall resign by April 2026. Those intending to contest at the regional level shall resign by May 2026. And those intending to contest at the national level shall resign by June 2026. These provisions are firm, constitutional, and will enforce without exception.
Right. So, Tanko, this decision, why? People believe that, there are those who believe that this is not good for your party. There are very young officers of the party who are holding, who have been appointed, and you want to deny them this opportunity before your elections. Why?
Council, you see, this decision was arrived at based on Article 54 of the party constitution. And let me, for the benefit of the general public, I want to read that as article.
Please go ahead.
Residual powers of National Executive Committee. this one, National Executive Committee, where on any party matter, there is no provision in this constitution which deals with that matter. The National Executive Committee shall, by resolution, provide for the matter to be dealt with. You see, so the issue that we are talking about is not in the Constitution. A matter like that is not explicitly stated in the Constitution. But the National Executive Committee in the last meeting, and this National Executive Committee is made up of regional executives, national executives, MPs, the parliamentary caucus, and then Council of Elders and all that. They all come, they come together to form the National Executive Committee. Now, they look at this and say, we are now in government, we're in power, we want to strengthen the party so that the party will be strong, whilst the government will also concentrate on its business, its core business. That was the brain behind it. And they said, okay, to do that, we have officers who were elected, all right, some appointed, but they are now in government. And then now, the PA, because of the nature of the economy, which was very bad, we inherited a very bad economy, the country was in shambles, wanted to give ample time for the government to concentrate on resetting the government. Then the party will also do the reorganization and get in officers who will carry on the day-to-day business of the party. So that was why the National Executive Committee came out with this decision that certain officers who are full-time employed by the government should concentrate on the government business. Then there are other officers like the General Secretary mentioned. In fact, the General Secretary was basically reporting what the National Executive Committee decision, what the decision they took. So he was just reporting. He's the CEO of the party, chief executive. Right. So he was just reporting on that. And that board chairman and board members, that one is not a full-time. Board, sometimes they sit twice in a year, some 3 in a year, depend upon the nature of their work and all that. And so when you add them to this group, invariably you might not be doing justice to that. So that was the basis on making that decision. But nonetheless, there is a caveat. This one is referring to elective positions. And we must make it very clear. The decision is about elective position. Apart from elective position, there are appointive positions too. After the Congress of 19th December, there will be some positions which will be elective. This decision doesn't affect that aspect. So this decision is purely about electives. So that people want to contest elective positions, then it will, because it's a full time.
Yeah, that's clear enough.
Yes, and so those going in, we want to, because we've identified there are brainy people in the party who are very good in organizational issues and all that, and in their sectors, and they are in government. But because that one is appointive, the National Executive Committee will not regulate to debar them from bringing their experience to bear in the party running. Because that one there is not a full-time thing. You come in when the issues at that area arises. So that one is not affected. So you will still see this, our best brains in the party who are doing fantastic, the one you are referring to. I'm very sure and very clear in my mind that after the 19th December Congress, those people will be invited to take up those appointive positions to help the new officers who might be elected at the various congresses. So it's not meant to target anybody. I believe that the National Executive Committee thought through this and came out with this regulation based on the Article 54, that residual powers they have to make up this kind of regulation in order to guide our
what will be the fairness if some people are prohibited from contesting unless they resign, and yet for the appointive offices, some people will keep their offices and still stand a chance of being appointed to those offices? What will be the fairness?
Well, you see, if you look at it, Council, it's not about fairness. It's about providing technical support to the executive. That is what we're looking at. It's about providing technical support. Because if you look at it, being, for instance, if you want to be a general secretary of the party, it's a full-time job. Because you are the CEO of the party. And so if you are a CEO of the party and you are also a minister of state, you can imagine how you're going to handle the two. Okay, but if you're a director of legal of the party, that one is not a full-time thing. It is only, you only bring your technical knowledge when we have legal issues. You come and advise the party as what to do when it comes to legal matters and all that. It's not a full-time thing.
Right.
And so that is what we are looking at. So the issue is not about fairness.
The other question about fairness has been, why didn't you prohibit those who are serving on boards as well? Your national chairman, Esiedun Ketia, is serving on the GPHA board. We know in Ghana that's a very lucrative place. Why didn't you prohibit all those people as well? Because you give them advantage over the others you expect to resign.
But if you listen to the General Secretary very well, he made it very clear. These are not full-time jobs. Boards sit, sometimes they sit 3 times in a year. Some 2. Some self, it will take time. It depends upon the nature of the board. It's not a full-time. After the board meeting, that's the end of their job. And then the next
there are places of access and influence. There are places of potential, building a war chest.
Well, that is another leg maybe they have been looking at. But you see, you need to be fair to all the persons. If we say, okay, we have to segregate certain boards which are lucrative and all that, and regulate on that one and leave others, we might not also be fair. So in order to just be fair to all the board members and then listen, because not all of them are active work that they are doing. You go and sit in the board meeting and it will take about 3-4 months before you are even called to come, if only there's a business for you to come and decide. So that is the brain behind it. And so that one there...
I spoke about access. People who are sitting on boards, who are even chairpersons of boards, can find jobs for loyalists. If you say people should resign, they resign. But those who are still keeping this board appointment can find jobs for loyalists. They have all sorts of access. And it's easier for them. And that can be used as an advantage. So that as we speak, we know that Esiedun Ketia is interested in becoming a flag bearer. We know that Julius Deborah is interested in becoming a flag bearer. We know some who are in ministerial positions who we understand are also interested in becoming flag bearers. So, well, that's not party office, but yeah. If they were interested in other offices other than party office, they were supposed to resign.
Well, that's why I'm saying that is another leg we are looking at. But we wanted to be fair. You see, and there's a dictum I always speak from lawyers, equity. You see, we're looking at that one. And so we wanted to be fair. The National Executive, yes, it is fair. The National Executive Committee wanted to be fair to all these people that we are talking of, so that we don't target certain people and say, okay, because the person is here, that this place is lucrative more, that let's regulate against them, and then we might not be fair to them.
Okay.
So that is the brain behind it.
All right.
So clearly, the National Executive Committee, with this decision that they have come out with, is grounded on Article 54 of the party constitution. They are using their residual powers.
All right.
And that's
Dr. Arthur Kennedy, what do you make of this decision of the NDC? Is it good to foster, equity and fairness within the party, as he says?
Well, the intent is good, but I'm concerned about the effects. For example, it begs the question, is the flag bearer of NDC an elective position? So, for example, if somebody wants to be flag bearer, it is a party position, even though it's leading to a national position. Looking at what the NPP went through in 2007, 2008, I think the intent is good, but sometimes we overestimate the abundance of talent that the government or the party might find itself heading into 2028, that it has unnecessarily tied its hands behind its back by forcing people who are otherwise quite talented to give up offices that would have been beneficial to the party's reputation. The other thing is also that when you talk about board chair and board memberships, I think that my friend, Mr. Tanko, kind of oversimplifies it a little bit. You know, yes, the Ghana Ports Authority board chair might have one meeting a month or one meeting in 3 months, but from what I have learned, board chairmanships in the Ghanaian context are very busy positions. You know, there is supplicants who are seeking your interventions and things. Those who manage the organization are coming to you. So the idea that once you finish the board meeting, all what you need to do is done, I suggest it's a little bit of an oversimplification. So I see the intent, but I think that in the end, there might be some regrets, both on the part of individuals and on the part of the party. But it will be interesting to watch it. But I didn't think the NPP benefited a lot from the 2007-2008 resignations.
Interesting. Fatih, they are taking a cue from some of the bickering, some of the problems that happen in the NPP, where people who are serving in government sought to undermine MP candidates and all sorts of things. So they want to cut all of them off. DCEs, they are all affected. These people, some of them undermined the sitting MPs.
It is an interesting issue, but one thing that we can all admit is that parties are not the strongest when they are in power, because it gets to a point that some of their best resources, human resources, are moved to go and govern. And there is this natural transition that occurs to find people to fill spots. And in our space, with all the uncertainties in political party financing, you realize that funding issues and all that is also complicated. So there is a genuine fear that this person is going here to build their war chest and come and take a position that someone has worked so hard for, and so on and so forth. I don't particularly know the thinking that went behind the decision of the National Executive Committee of the NDC to go in this direction. But what I know is that political parties evolve, and most of the evolution happens when they are in government and have moved a chunk of their human resources into government. And you need to figure out how you are going to run a successful and sustainable political party whilst other people are serving somewhere and they are not accessible. So our party is going through its own evolution, as you are aware of. And today, after today's election, we'll be back at the drawing board, as we did at last year's July conference, to see how best we can move along the changing time. So
this is a good thing they are doing.
If it's good for them, it's good for democracy. I am not. I will defer to him on NDC matters. I don't know much about their challenges, except that I see a few of their content creators and TikTokers crying on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, that they've been abandoned since the party came to power. And my brother was, they've been crying every day. Sometimes I even go into their DMs and tell them it is well. It shall be well. Every day they're crying. But just to land on the fact that, you see, as for Samson's show, when I come here, I don't want to do politics. I want to be talking law.
But now we are talking politics. Talk politics.
But my brother was saying they inherited a very bad economy.
I saw
and they
you
had
taking
to come
note of that.
reset. I said, you know, these are family matters. I didn't want to go there. But I am clear in my mind that what the NDC has tried to do over and over again is to dismiss the exit data and record of the new patriotic party and continue to pick data from the crisis period, especially in 2022. If they are quoting fuel prices, they are quoting from 2022. If they are quoting dollar rates, they are quoting from 2022 just to exaggerate and make their point sweeter. But my brother failed to tell Ghanaians that the economy that President Akufo-Addo handed over to them was a recovering economy. Of course, you wouldn't say it was all rosy because we had to go under an IMF program. But this is an economy that gave us 5.7% GDP growth in 2024. Indeed, by every standard, no reasonable person would say it was going the Sri Lanka direction as at 2024. This is an economy that left more than 3.5 months import cover for your government, almost $9 billion US. The economy that left a gold reserve of, according to your data, 30.5 metric tons. When historical records show that we inherited a little over 8 metric tons. The gold that you have sold and liquidated and left only 18.6 tons. The economy that kept the children in schools. The economy that procured 2,240 drip equipment for all the MMDAs, so that you have appointed a national drip coordinator, 16 regional drip coordinators, you've appointed district drip coordinators, some are using the drip machines to do galamsey, according to the journalists like Erastus who have been following the galamsey menace. That is the economy that we handed over to you. So please, sometimes be graceful and tell the record as it is, that the exit data that President Akufo-Addo left as of 6th January 2025 was not an economy that was in a bad state. That economy could pay cocoa farmers. That economy made sure it created value in the agri sector. The maize farmers and beans farmers were not on radio and TV crying every day. That if you go to a dry market, they have, for a year, they have applied pesticides to their beans 3 times. They are afraid of food poisoning. So please, as your party is evolving, we are also evolving in opposition. But let us always set the record straight.
Dr. Osai, yeah.
It's a good idea.
From where you sit from CDD.
Yes.
It looks like this is a good thing.
Yes, it's a good thing.
Separate the party from government.
Precisely, to separate the party from government. Because sometimes, you don't know where the party begins and ends and where the government begins and ends. I know that the political reality is that service to the party sometimes is sort of the platform, the gateway to being recognized,
or rewarded.
And rewarded for then saying, oh, we've seen your talent in service to the party. We believe you can be useful, in government as well. But I believe it's a good idea to have that.
So therefore, it to be fair, that those who have served and have been rewarded in the present government should choose to stay and enjoy their reward. Then those who want to serve in the party will continue to do that.
Exactly.
And perhaps they too, it will come to their time where they will move from party office to go to government office to serve as a reward.
Precisely. And even at some point to expand it beyond just your elective positions and even include all party positions, even the ones that are appointed. But sometimes when you talk to the party people, after elections, you hear things like, oh, these days nobody is even at the party headquarters, things like that. And I think post-election, especially when you win and you get into government, it can create some challenges for maintaining, running administration of the party. It can even weaken, the party depending, because, the kinds of roles you are in government, can you give both your full attention? So for me, I think it's a good, I believe it's a step in the right direction.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Osai Kwapong. Now, the other side was the matter of, so we're using this to dovetail into the NPP, voting that is going on for flag bearership. There's a challenge in the Supreme Court, and the challenge is a straightforward one, that only you should not leave the election of a presidential candidate to only delegates. It should be something that should be done by all the members of the political party. So let's begin from there. What do you think? Is it the case really that what they are doing now, what they are doing today is undemocratic and it does not sit well with the Constitution's, requirements? Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, Dr. Nyaho and Dr. Christine Omoakoniama are the plaintiffs in this matter before the Supreme Court. Who have they sued? They have sued the New Patriotic Party, the National Democratic Congress, and the Convention People's Party, as well as the Electoral Commission and the Attorney General. The reason the Electoral Commission and the Attorney General are there is so that among the relief they are asking for, that if the court holds that the delegate system is undemocratic and unconstitutional, it will be the Electoral Commission that will enforce it. Attorney General will also have an obligation in that regard.
Democracy doesn't always have to be direct. You can have indirect democracy. So, for example, when my parliamentarian is taking decisions in Parliament, right, they are making those decisions in principle and in an ideal world on my behalf, right, on behalf of a constituency they are representing.
But the constituency elected them.
Correct. So if you think
not
of
a part of the constituency.
But if you think of a delegate system, you can think of it as an indirect form of democracy where these delegates have, quote unquote, delegated authority to help decide for the entire party.
Yes, so the point is
the
delegated authority should come from the general and not...
However, I want to say that for me, I've always argued for open primaries. I'm not a big fan of the delegate system. And it does come also from a selfish position. A very good friend lost a party primary years ago, whom I believed would have been a much better candidate for the party and a really good parliamentarian. And so after he lost, I started looking closely at this delegate system. This idea of it's cocoa season and it goes to the highest bidder. So I started arguing that, well, it may be easier to, quote unquote, buy a number of delegates, but it will be difficult to buy an entire constituency. So to make the race very fair and reduce the monetary incentive for the one with the deep pockets to be able to win, open it up to all registered members of the party in good standing. What some of my friends have said to me in the parties is that their concern is, what if in an open primary, the other side finds a way to infiltrate and get to also have a say in who becomes their flag bearer? But I think with technology, biometric verification, all of those tools, you can ensure that if you go and vote in an NPP primary, you can't turn around, hold a card and go and vote, in an NDC primary. So I think there are mechanisms through which you can prevent. I mean, the CRC is recommending this very thing that has gone to the courts. I don't think the political parties would back the CRC recommendation, which is why I'm counting on the courts.
Why would they not back it if the state will fund it? Because the parties, their major concern has been the funding.
The state would not also fund it because there's not a public appetite for state funding of political parties. So as far back as maybe 15 years ago, CDD Ghana did a study. There was a question about, do you support state financing of political parties? And almost close to 6 out of 10 Ghanaians supported some form of state financing. But by Afrobarometer, I think it was 2022, when that question came up, it's completely gone, no more than 2 out of 10. And I remember sharing it on social media, and everybody's response was, tell the political parties to go and look for their own money to finance that. So that appetite, the public appetite for state financing. You just said a while
ago that it should be possible to take out people who may want to infiltrate.
Yes.
So NPP is organizing its primaries today. Mm-hmm. You were saying if people have to use their cards.
Yes.
That must be shepherded by the state.
Yes.
If it's not shepherded by the state and you don't use state machines and systems, how will they be found out, going to vote for another.
Correct. So that part the state can take responsibility for, right? But not the sort of direct financing of. I mean, some state support I would agree with. The other question that my friends would point out to me, in addition to how would the mechanisms work, is the cost issue, which is why I've also been wondering, the NDC tried an open primary for parliamentary candidates in 2020. I'm wondering what lessons they learned from that made them abandon that approach and return to the delegate system, even for parliamentary. Because I think whatever lessons they learned from that made them say, look, this is not the path. But I am really hoping that a day will come where we can get to open primary for all registered members of the party, in good standing. My mother would always say to me, only a few people get to select the flag bearer, and yet when it comes to election time, then you say we all must go and select that flag bearer, except that for her, she's a diehard party person, so she would always say, whoever the party selects, I will still show up and vote. But I would like to have a say, in the process of selecting and moving beyond the delegate system.
Dr. Kennedy, do you support?
Yes.
Do you support this suit and the arguments therein?
I do, not completely the argument, but I support the suit in principle. You recall, and I think that we can't go into detail here because he hasn't given us permission to do that I took on Professor Kwesi Prempeh in a private forum you are on regarding a similar thing. And since we don't have his permission, I can't flesh everything out about his responses. But actually, this problem has existed for a long time, and the suit is grounded, as you've put up there kindly, on Article 55.5 and the quotation there that the parties must conform to democratic principles and their actions are not contravening or being consistent with the Constitution. Indeed, there is also another subsection of the Article 55 that you haven't put on there, that is 14A and B, which enjoins the political parties to declare revenues and assets and to also publish audited accounts every year, which of course they haven't been doing.
Yeah, that's in the Political Parties Act 2000. That's in the Political Parties Act, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that what they are saying has merit. And actually, if you think about it broadly, if we say that what the political parties do must conform to our Constitution, we know, for example, that today and in the days leading to today, a lot of money has changed hands. The Constitution of Ghana explicitly enjoins all of us to fight against corruption. So if monies are changing hands in exchange for votes, one can presume that that is inconsistent, for example, with our Constitution. We know that for DCEs, there were allegations that you had to buy your nomination at the presidency and buy your confirmation from the delegates. Obviously, these things are not consistent with our Constitution. But the reason why I said I do not completely support the basis is that in actual fact, there are a lot of places around the world where candidates are chosen by delegates. So choosing candidates by delegates per se is itself not undemocratic. So, for example, when you look at America and Australia and other places, that has evolved. In America, for example, they say famously that what they got was a republic and not a democracy. And when they say it was a republic, it is representative, which is where you use the delegates. In fact, in the United States initially, the president was not chosen by direct vote. Senators were not chosen by direct vote. And even now, even though the public votes, the American president is chosen by electoral college votes, which is why you can win the popular vote and still lose it. So I say all that to say that in a republic like United States, yes, you can do representation, but the solution to what is it that we are talking about can actually be found there. And I showed that in my exchanges with Kwesi Prempeh, that in actual fact, I noticed that Dr. Kwapong talks about how, the going to direct vote, the other side might affect it. The thing to do is to bring the state in. And as I suggested, for example, we can ask every voter who is registering to vote to declare allegiance to a political party. And if they did that, it should entitle them to vote in that party's presidential and parliamentary primaries, as well as voting for DCs. And I think that by that declaration, and by the way, in the United States, your right to vote in a party's primary nothing to do with your paying dues. You don't have to pay dues. The parties raise money separately, apart from dues paying, because the idea of having to pay dues in order to be a voting member or to be a member in good stand is a farce. The big people pay the dues for their supporters. So in the end, it is not they who paid. As for the state funding it, which Dr. Kwapong and Fatimata and others have raised, they are good points, but whatever happens, somebody must pay for it. And money is the mother's milk of politics. So at a certain level, as you famously said, they said that Kennedy had ideas, but he didn't have money. So my point is the fact that the state is refusing to pay for it does not mean nobody is paying for it. Bad money is paying for it. And when bad money pays for it, it's an investment. We call them politicopreneurs who invest in elections by buying delegates so that when people get into office, they can get something back.
You mentioned...
So it might be that in spite of our reluctance, the state must look seriously at making some investments in parties so that they would conform to what I call the principles of democratization, demonetization, transparency, and inclusiveness. Right. For example, this NPP primary that we are about to see, Cynthia Mamle Morrison and 200 of her supporters were just summarily removed from the register. There was no due process. I think the last point is that which is why Professor Frimpong Boateng, Nyawota Maklo, and Ms. Nyama's suit have merit, is that there are too many people who think or treat the parties as private clubs that they may manage in whatever way they please.
But that's your argument. Do your arguments about, delegation not being undemocratic and unconstitutional, do those arguments not, defeat this suit?
Not completely, because you can, in effect, validate parts of a suit and then let parts of it go. So, for example, I think that you can separate something like, but I think the three areas every member of a party should be able to vote are picking MMDs, candidates for the party, picking parliamentary candidates, and picking the presidential candidate. And you can say, for example, that party officers, like constituency chair and others, might be by the delegate system. But even if you concede that you can use the delegate system, it can be amended to make it more democratic and transparent. For example, I don't see why, if the MPP is picking its presidential candidate, Wale and Bantuma should have the same voice, because the party strength in the two places are significantly different. So you can still have a delegate system that approaches more the ideals of democracy.
You are getting back to the point. You are getting back to the point of controversy. You and Dr. Osai Kwapong, if your point is that a collegiate system or a delegate system is not necessarily undemocratic or unconstitutional, then how do we argue before the apex court that this delegate system is undemocratic? How do you come by the delegate system in the first place? The delegate system is a product of the constitution of a party. How is the constitution of a party promulgated? It is promulgated by the votes or the endorsement of the Congress, which is the apex body of the party. So how can you argue that it is undemocratic when the system that throws up the delegates system is democratic?
It is not actually a very difficult thing to say. You can, of course, have the Congress of the party constituted and administered in a way that itself is undemocratic and not transparent. You know, for example, the NPP constitution clearly says that when you make a constitutional amendment, you should circulate it a certain number of weeks before you go. They didn't do that. When they got to the Congress itself, you are supposed to count the votes and record it. They did voice votes. So there are a lot of ways in which these things are undemocratic, not necessarily because they are delegate systems, but because people are controlling it. You know, you wake up in the morning and some people's names have been removed from the register.
We understand those issues, but the question is the principle or the core at which this argument is mounted. Are we going to Athenian democracy where everybody will gather at the amphitheater and decide that this is what we have to do? And the question is, how do you achieve that? The parties say we simply can't achieve that with our current circumstances. It's about money.
Samson, I've told you how you can achieve that. So everybody, I have said that you can split the difference because we should be sensitive to the cost argument. But it is also true that the system as we are operating it now is not the best. So we can make it more democratic. In other words, democracy and not democracy are not just binary. It's a range. And you can move along the range. So, for example, when I ran for MPP flag bearer, there were only about 2,000 people voting. It's now 211,000 or something. So, obviously, the voting now is a little more democratic because more members of the party have a voice. But it is also true that when 211,000 people go get paid money to pick a presidential candidate and 6 million are supposed to vote for the person, then it's not as democratic as it ought to be. So how does the state step in? I've given you some ideas. For example, when you register to vote as a Ghanaian voter, you should tell them which party you prefer, and telling them that should give you a right to participate in their primary for both MP and for the presidential candidate. That is a significant improvement. We are also saying that having transparency about where money is coming from, and for example, having the state fix the dates. So the MPP is voting today, not because it helps the public, but because some people in the party thinks, let's be frank about it, it helps a certain faction. So part of the state's intervention might be to, in effect, make sure that within the parties, interests which are powerful do not manipulate the processes to the advantage of their factions.
All right, thank you.
That these parties are public institutions.
Thank you very much. And because you have to leave us, let me pick your comments now. I need to take a break, but let me pick your comments now. So they are saying that your processes, as far as your delegate system is concerned, is undemocratic as required by the Constitution. What do you say?
I do not have any reservation about the desire to go to court to test the law, just so that we have something on record for future references. But I am concerned that in Ghana, we fail to celebrate our democratic successes and are quick to throw away what works and are quick to disturb what ought not to be disturbed. I have been following the elections in Tanzania and also Cameroon and also other parts of Africa. I have gone to Nigeria as well. You go to places and you are like, what version of democracy is being practiced here? Ours is a growing democracy, it's young. But we should also acknowledge the fact that it is growing and it is getting better. Doc acknowledged that when he contested elections, there were 2,000 delegates. Now we have 211,000 delegates. By virtue of the amendment that we did to the NPP's constitution on 19 July 2025, we are going to expand the polling station executives from 5 to 7, electoral area coordinators from 1 to 5. We are allowing all former constituency officers, regional officers, national officers, MMDCs, ministers to vote. It has a potential to bloat our electoral college from even the 211,000 to even a larger number. Now, if you are positing that in Ghana, not in America, in Ghana, not in America, where you go to this house, you know there is a Republican voter here. In Ghana, where our constitution and statutes prevent even some civil servants and public servants to show their political colors, prevent some security agencies, prevent some traditional authority from involving themselves in politics, prevent other people in society from the kind of politics we have here, because this is not America and this is not London. Our cultural and social contexts are different. So if we have tried something and it works, let's not break it. We can test the law, but I am also admitting that, for instance, if genuinely the Constitution is right, it is not contradicting any provision of the 1992 Constitution. But you are saying, I have witnessed some incidents that are unconstitutional. Let us take on those isolated incidents. Let us bring light to it, amplify it, and make sure the right things are done. But why do we make the laws? Why do we have the Constitution? Why do we have the statutes? Because, first of all, we want them to be obeyed, a failure of which they must be enforced. If you force the courts to bring the kind of ruling and say, NPP, allow everybody in Ghana who has ever held your party card to go and vote to select a person, and the party says, we cannot pay for it, the laws you have made, the rulings will be observed more in breach than in compliance, because the practicality is not there. We can't do it. And you want us to go to court because you want us to be in the position and have the capacity to do it. I went to the CDU headquarters in Berlin in 2019 just to engage and investigate how government is able to fund political parties, how they mobilize revenue, the tax component that goes to political parties funding. And I was looking at our dispensation and I was like, this will not work here. You say you want to give political parties even 5 million cedis each, which cannot even conduct primaries for one candidate. And the next conversation around it is, but we don't have a classroom here yet. There is a pothole here. We haven't reached there. So maybe we should be a bit more cautious in the adventure that we want to pursue.
See, my biggest interest, as I said, is the fact that I still haven't gotten over the fact that my good friend, who would have been a good parliamentary candidate, lost because he didn't have deep pockets. So the political solution to the political problem for me is make it more difficult for those with the deep pockets to be able to buy the delegate system. I don't have necessarily a legal argument. And it is becoming more difficult because we have expanded the electoral college. And let me remind you of one last point. Majority, about 90% of the delegates are elected by members of the party. Right.
Let's hear Rashid Tanko, the final one to
Council, this one,
and then we take our break.
Well, the party NDC, we have not been served yet. We have not received sermons on this matter.
Will you know?
Yes. I'm always at FEC meetings. I'm a member of FEC, so if it's there, I would have known. But clearly, if you look at it, the delegate system has served the country very well.
They actually say in their suits that in 2015 thereabout, you guys decided to do it the way they are asking the court to compel you to do it now.
That was
and then suddenly you change it again.
No, that was also a delegate system, but maybe because we didn't call it delegate system. Even the country, the way we elect our president and parliamentarian, we use the delegate system. The Ghana population is about, we are talking about 34 million. How many people elect the president? Is it not 70 million on our register? You must register first. If you are not a registered voter, can you go and vote? So we compile a register. We have a register, and that register will determine these are the people who vote for the president. And vote for them. That's one too. It's a delegate system. But it's just it's expanded.
The argument is that every card bearer, every member of the party, every person you can identify as NDC, should be allowed to participate in the flag bearership vote.
That is what we do it at the branch level. Look, we've just opened our registers for new members to be uploaded. Who want to join the NDC can take up the opportunity and pick up our membership. Now, when the register is compiled at the branch level, then we'll do branch elections. All party members in that branch who are holding party membership card will go and vote for the 9 officers of the branch. That's how we start. So it means all party members are going to be part of the voting of our executive from the base. Now, when we get these 9 executives, they are now representing the branches at each area. They now constitute the bulk of the deal to come and elect our constituency.
We were voted by all members.
All members.
Same as NPP.
That's why we do.
That makes it democratic.
That is what we do in our party.
In future they are going to choose your flag bearer, then they are exercising the delegated power given to them, by all
our members.
Just like we vote for MPs, they go
and represent us. Yes.
So it's democratic.
It's democratic. So that's what I'm saying. It has served us well. And that is why before we get to the 19th December, we would have done all this on the ground. So that we see that these 9 executives who are going to be elected are democratically elected by each party member.
This happens in all the parties.
Well, I don't know how the NPP
as well.
So with that one, I think it has saved us well. The only thing is that maybe, like the numbers, if you come to the 99, we think that at the branch level, people can still influence the 9 elected officers, then we can increase. But that one, you see, will go into the realm of absurdity. Like my sister was talking of, it's not easy conducting election at the internal elections. It's very costly. It's not easy because you have to get electoral commission. You have to pay them because you have to pay for the printing of the ballot papers and their officers who are going to be there unless the state wants to now come in and take over the organization of internal election of political party, and of which the state has other pressing matters that they will want to look at. And so for now, this one has saved us well. I've listened to our senior citizens who have gone to the Supreme Court. Yes, they might have a general based on the monetization of our processes. That might be the reason behind them going this. Because of late, we used not to have that. I remember in 1992, when we started this journey, and where I participated fully was the 1996 one. Look, at that time, there was nothing like spending on delegates. At that time, it was just posters. You bring a poster and they are good to go, or T-shirt. And then bicycle. After a bicycle there, you are just Oga. That was how we're doing it. And then 2000, we came in. Then we started around 2001, 2002. Then the issue of monetization started. Of late, now even to us people...
The two of you, you fortify Arthur Kennedy's arguments and those of Dr. Osai Kwapong when you insist that how the delegates are chosen is the general membership of the party at the branch level that picked them. Therefore, it's a democratic system. If you are able to allow the general membership at the local level to vote for those local executives who eventually become delegates, why can't you allow the system generally to be there? It means it is not difficult to do.
That's what I'm saying. You have to also be mindful of the cost element that you are looking at. okay, that we tried in 2015. That is our biometric system, where we said, okay, every party member who is holding party membership card was captured on our biometric system, and then they will come and decide for our parliament. That was what we used in the 2015 to elect our parliamentary. And it cost us a lot, because we realized that there were a lot of infiltration into the system. Because the system, people wanted to get their favorite elected. You saw that a lot of people who were not even party members managed their way into the system. And so it gave us a hell of time. And I'm not surprised that the 2016 election didn't go well for us at all, because people were aggrieved with the system and we had to abandon it. So it also boils down to internal mechanism, how to put our data together. The party membership is another critical one. If we have it like what we are doing now, we are now trying to prepare the data, comprehensive data. And that is why we have given the timelines as to when to open the register and when to close it, so that those who are desirable want to join the NDC will come pick membership at the branch level. Then they will compile the data, we will put it together. Going forward, we will envisage that kind of system, where when we have the proper data being digitized, then we can go that route of reverting to where we can say all branch members can now constitute the delegate instead of the 99 to come and then elect our officers at the branch level. Okay. So that we can decentralize the process at that level. But for now, I think the delegate system has worked for us. And it's just a matter of people now dipping their hand deep into their pockets and trying to, like what is going on today. We have picked a lot of...
Thank you. We'll take a break here. We'll take a break here. When we return, we'll focus on how far the voting has gone and potentially how it looks like. So you are going to vote now? Yeah. All right. Who is your vote on?
Dr. Baumia.
Dr. Baumia.
Yeah. Number 3.
Will he win?
Hey. Huh?
Will he win?
He will.
He will?
We will find out.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Well, you find out.
You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And joining us now is Kpandai Abankwah-Yeboah, who is Vice Chairman of the NPP. He's Vice Chairman of the Presidential Election Committee, and he's a former National Treasurer of the party. Thank you very much for making time to join us, sir.
You're welcome.
Right. So this show is brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, as strong as a group and close as a partner. MTN everywhere you go. Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneur leaders for Africa. Robert & Sons Optical Services, your comprehensive eye care service provider for 33 plus years. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Syntax Tanks, it's strong, it's tough. Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature. When you are done with your delegate work, yes, all of you who have money and those who are getting money today, find time to go to Safari Valley Eco Park and take a little relaxation. Goldbud Jewelry, pure, precious, proudly Ghanaian, Koa Natural Juice. It's 100% cocoa fruit juice. And Melcom, your #1 shopping destination. We are live on Joy Prime as well. Thank you all for being with us. So let's go to Mr. Abankwah-Yeboah, because they are the ones who are in charge of the Presidential Election Committee. How far has it gone for you? Has it met your expectations so far? You have about 2.5 hours to close poll and to begin counting and so on.
No, thank you very much, and greetings to viewers. I must say that by the grace of God, things have gone too well, and that is what we anticipated. And in fact, I would say a big thank you to the Electoral Commission and the IGP for how far he has brought all the setups and what we agreed upon into being. So far, we haven't had any incidents. And polling, from my information I'm getting from all the regions, have gone so well. And I'm praying that it will continue until the time 2 o'clock, where we'll do the counting. Our instructions are that even if voting or people meant to vote in a particular polling station are exhausted, still they'll have to wait till 2 before the counting is done.
Before the sorting?
The sorting and the counting is done.
Okay.
So they're not going to say that because all the names on the delegates list are over, we're going to honor. That's not what they do.
We hope that they listen to you and the people of your class within the party. We know that you command enormous respect to the point of reverence, and there's a reason why your kind were chosen to lead this process. But so ahead of today, we had heard some complaints, even yesterday, about things that appeared, to disfavor a particular candidate.
Those were, I would say, those were falsehood and wrong speculation. Because from the word go, the idea was that, as my previous chairman, because I was a member of the previous committee as well, Michael Kewu said, would say that everything, the winner should be won or the fight should be won in the ring. So we made sure that we created an environment where everybody will be at peace. And so we started by making sure that all our meetings, we had in attendance representatives of the 5 contestants. First of all, through the process of validation of the album, exhibition of the album, and all that. Then also meetings with the Electoral Commission. We also made sure that all the 2-3 meetings we had with the Electoral Commission, they're also present, because we handed over all the electoral process, even venue, to the Electoral Commission, so that nobody or no candidate will say that, oh, this particular polling station was chosen because of ABC. And where they had problems, they brought their views up, and the said polling stations were changed. Likewise, the meetings we had with the security services, we had about 3 meetings. They were all present. So we've involved them from the beginning. And normally, as a production, they will say quality is built up into the process. So we've involved them such that nobody at the end of the day will come and say, no, I've been shortchanged or things did not go for me because of ABC. And whatever complaints we had to resolve them,
So going into the process today, there have not been complaints that have been outstanding?
No, there haven't been complaints. I know I was listening to you and Ata Kennedy brought some forfeitures and all that. The constitution of the party is clear that when you go, in support of independent candidate, or you leave the party, and file your own candidature at the parliamentary processes, you forfeit automatically your membership. But before we started the process, that was in July, the National Executive Committee and National Council granted some amnesty. But those amnesty that was granted was for all those who were suspended and all that. But those who had forfeited, it was for them to apply to be taken in, onto the register. And even that, they would be active only after 2 years. So all these things were considered, and we came out with the final register without any problem.
Right. Hold on quickly for me. Samuel Abu-Jinapo is former MP. Is he former? No, he's MP, current, Damongo, and ranking member, Foreign Affairs Committee. Thank you very much for making time to join us. He's former Lands and Natural Resources Minister. Are you in your constituency to vote, and how are things looking like this morning for you?
Thank you very much, Samson, for having me. Yes, I'm in Damongo. I'm here to vote.
All we have heard, particularly for the committee that Mr. Bankwa-Yeboah is part of the leadership, has been generally of praise for the work they have done But this morning, do you have any concerns that you believe that are outstanding that they have not addressed?
Well, thank you very much, Samson. First of all, the process is going on very smoothly here in Damango. It's extraordinarily smooth, and it's going smoothly across Savannah region. And the reports we have is that it's going smoothly across the northern sector of our country. And I think Mr. Abankwai Abua and the Honorable Joe Wise and co have to be commended and saluted highly. I think they've done such an extraordinary job for our party. And what is happening today is part of the process to revive our party and to rebuild our party. And I think they've been great patriots, and they've acted fairly. They've done such an extraordinary job, and it's all manifesting today. And you will see that we have just about 2 hours to end the polls, and the process has been absolutely peaceful and very smooth. I should say that the healing process for the New Patriotic Party is going on very well. The party is healing quite well. And I want to believe that by the grace of God, it will go on accordingly. And as they say, the voice of the people is the voice of God. So when it's all said and done, whoever is elected, we will all rally behind the person, crucial election of 2020.
Of course, initially, your team was not excited about this disqualification of the diaspora vote, proxy voting issues. But now you are fine.
Well, I think in an election, you cannot have everything according to how you probably will wish for it. And I want to believe that the election planning committee, the presidential election committee, working alongside the electoral commission, had good reason to put all the measures they put in place, not just the ones that you've mentioned. What is important is that this process is going on smoothly. It's going on smoothly here in Damango. It's going on smoothly in the Savannah region. And that when it's all said and done, the winner will be the legitimate winner of the election and will be the legitimate leader of the party and will have the legitimate mandate and authority to bring everybody around the table. And those who do not win in accordance with the best traditions of the NPP since 1992 will rally behind the winner for us to go into the crucial election of 28. So I think that the process has been excellent, and so far nobody should have any cause to complain.
Yeah, but people have concerns that it's most likely that this time round, the healing process may not be as easy as you say it because of some of the exchanges that have happened, particularly in the dying, days to today.
Well, you're right, Samson. In an election, if you don't win, people put in a lot, put in money, they put in logistics, they put in their emotions, physical, and all of that. So it takes time, and time heals the best. And it takes time for people to heal and come around. But I also think that as members of the party, it does not matter how the contest panned out. Some of the utterances and some of the occurrences in the course of this campaign are most unfortunate and unwelcome, but they've happened. But what is important is that when the elections are over, and that's what has been the case since 92, when Professor Abibuahi was elected, President Kufuor, Mr. Selby, and the rest all supported him in 1996. When President Kufuor was elected, Professor Abibuahi, Nana Akufo-Addo supported President Kufuor in 98, and it's been the tradition of our party. I believe that Mr. Abankwai Abua, leading members and respected members,
in those contests, nobody called the other a liar.
Well, in some of those contests, a lot of things were said. People said that cassava that has been taken to the market and wasn't bought and is rotten cannot be taken back to the market. A lot of things get said in political heated contests. I don't welcome that. I don't think using language like that is welcome. We should have politics of decency, decorous politics without insults. I agree with you on that. But I'm saying that whatever the case is, ultimately, it will be the responsibility of the leadership of the NPP, and I should say also the man who will be elected by the end of today to bring everybody together for us to rally behind the elephant for the election.
How come executives of the party were, prohibited from showing their preferences, but you, the MPs, almost all of you have shown your preferences? Do you think that has helped?
But we were not prohibited. The MPs were not prohibited. And the MPs have aligned with presidential aspirants over the period. In the past, the parliamentary caucus have always had a say. I think that there's good reason why national executive officers and regional executives were expressly prohibited from aligning with particular political parties. And also don't forget, Samson, that the novel arrangement we have now, where we are electing our presidential candidate ahead of internal reforms, internal elections, i.e. polling station, electoral area coordinators, constituency, regional and national executive elections, will also help. So what it will mean is that when the presidential candidate is elected, then we then go forward to elect the executives of the structures of the party. You may not necessarily have the current executives manning affairs moving into the elections. Members of Parliament, yes, we will stay there till the election is due. But whoever we have aligned with, I think that we should be matured enough and we should love our party enough to be able to support whoever emerges.
Okay, let's hear what message would you have for what message would you have for those who are voting across the country as far as the conduct is concerned? Finally.
Samson, I think where we are, I support Dr. Mamadou Bawumia. There's no secret about that, and I'm going to cast my vote for him. But on a day like this, where we've gotten to, we should see what is happening today as part of the broader effort by the party to revive the New Patriotic Party. And we should be honest and courageous enough to admit that flowing from the election of 2024, the NPP requires revival and healing, if I should use your word. And indeed, what is happening today should be seen within the broader context of efforts by the party to bring the New Patriotic Party onto its feet for election, the crucial election of 2028. And so far, so good. And this is why, really, what is happening today and the conduct of this election and how it's panning out is so refreshing and so welcoming. Right. And therefore, the few hours, the sorting and counting left, we should focus and make sure that we discharge this responsibility creditably and give the New Patriotic Party a good name.
Right. Hopefully there's no showdown. Thank you very much, Samuel Abujinapo. He's now going to cast his ballot, like a good number of those in positions or who have responsibilities to perform. They are now going to do theirs. Dr. Arthur Kennedy, sitting from where you are in the US and observing the process. Okay, so I'll get to Dr. Arthur Kennedy later, but Dr. Sakwapong, I'm sure you have followed your mother's party and how things have gone on so far. How are you processing the lead up to today and today, and of course after today?
So it's been, if you look at least those I've followed on social media, some of the things I've read in the lead up, you can see that it's been quite, to put it politely, intense rivalry.
Acrimonious.
Acrimonious at times. A friend of mine, though, says to me, we are seeing more of it because, for example, we are in the era of social media that amplifies some of these acrimonies, because prior to the era of social media, it could get just as intense. So I've been worried about that part because sometimes I think in internal contest, our parties fight so much that I keep saying, but have you forgotten who the real, quote-unquote, political enemy is, right? That they fight as though the general election is going to be two candidates from the same party and not from two different parties.
This kind of fight is supposed to be expected as a natural consequence of any context.
Correct, but I mean, there are sort of moments that make me cringe, especially because for me, I'm not a big fan of, I know politics is adversarial in nature, but I'm still not a big fan of adversarial politics, right? That sort of hard-hitting at each other's throat. But here we are, by the end of today, we would have a flag bearer. When the NPP announced that they would have their internal elections, I thought it was a little too soon. I used to say, well, process all the lessons from 2024, do all of the internal restructuring things. But in hindsight, I can see why they want to get it over with now, to give both the party and the elected flag bearer enough time to do all the, post-primary things, especially the reconciliation, the healing, just as you said, ensuring that after a bruising fight, everybody can find a way to sort of move on, make peace, my favorite word, and think party first and not whether my side was victorious or not. But that would also require for me the winner being gracious in victory. Usually I tend to put the responsibility more on the winner than the loser. Yes, the loser's consent, acceptance, and all of that will be very important. But I hope that when all is said and done, party first, and whether my side won or lost.
If reconciliation is at the center, then perhaps they should vote Educhum.
Yes, but if you also look at, the polls and everything, you just realize that, some candidates have a stronger chance of winning, than other candidates.
I was going to ask a question which I thought may be unfair to you, and I turned it that way because I was going to ask you, who makes it easier, the healing process for the party, and also to heal in such a way that puts them in a position to make a great comeback in 2028? Who among the five will do that for you?
So here's how I would answer it. It all depends on how you embrace your victory or your loss. I'll use my mother again as an example. Big fan of Kennedy Ejiofor, right? But she would also say to you that when the primary is over and the party has selected a given candidate, I put all my primary interest and support behind me and, sort of transform now to say, hey, I wanted person A, but person B won. It's the party's choice. That's what I'm going to go with. If everyone can adopt that kind of mindset and attitude, then for me, that healing process becomes easier. But if you had any grievances leading to the primary or even on the primary day and you keep dragging it, that makes it more challenging.
From where you sit,
from the party.
From where you sit, not from a party perspective.
Yeah.
You are a stakeholder of in this democracy.
Yes.
And at CDD, you are doing a lot to make sure that this democracy survives. Of the five, who improves our democratic lot?
Samson. I don't think that's a question I want to answer publicly. But when I say I prefer a certain style of politics, then I'm sure you should be able to read in between the lines and see who I think presents that sort of less adversarial, more reconciliatory approach kind, to politics. And
that would be any apart from your mother's choice.
Hey, I didn't say that.
Yes, thank you, Rashid.
Yes.
The NDC is so much interested to the point that you have been saying that you are going to conduct a parallel what?
A coalition, in fact.
Parallel coalition.
Yes.
Is just talk you are doing, or you can actually do this?
Oh, we are serious about it.
But how are you doing that? Do you have people on the ground to do that?
Yes, you can see that I'm so busy on my phone. We have observers in all the centers, the 270. We have observers. We deploy observers across. I've set up 17 laptops connected. Each laptop is connected to a region. You see, there are 16 regions, and then their head office.
Okay.
We don't trust these people because you see. Run out to this election.
So your famous cameras are on.
Oh yes, we are monitoring them closely. Look, this is our democracy. We have to protect it. The sanctity of our electoral system must be upheld. That's the most important thing. We are partners in this. They are our opponents. They are not our enemies. And so we should be interested in what our opponent is doing in order to safeguard our democratic credentials. And so when we realize that this party is on each other's neck, saying that internal election, one of them is saying that they rigged the election, the 2023 election. He won certain areas and they changed the figures. Now, if internal election, they can rig among them, so what would they do at a national election?
So that in your parallel collation,
yes,
you come forward and say, I have evidence of rigging, and so the results as declared by the EC is not authentic.
Of course, we have to let the general public.
So what, you go to court?
Oh, we have to know. You see,
because you don't have capacity to go to court to question their elections.
You see, the political parties are public entities, aren't true? And we should be interested in whatever they are doing. Because in the likely event they come back to power in some 30 years or so, our taxes are going to be managed by them. And then so this group, we must be sure and watch what is going to come out from them. But in any case, we are not expecting any surprise today at all. As a party, NDC, we are not expecting any surprise.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, we know this process is cooked and designed for Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia.
This is an unfair state.
It's a fact.
He's been on the ground campaigning just
You know
like
why we are saying that?
Why do you say
the
that?
designing of this process, a group, I usually describe the Alisa group, that was where they went and started and designed that they should have a top-down approach. And that instead of them to go and reorganize the party from the base, they refuse. So they decided
that cast in stone. It's not
stated
anywhere in any legal book or moral book or anywhere that there is a principle that you must do it from bottom up and not top down.
Counsel, I agree. I agree perfectly to what you are saying. Legally, they have nothing is wrong with that. But you see, when you have a party, a very strong political party, NPP, have monitored them since 92, since the Rucha chairmanship and all. It has been a very strong, formidable party. They started declining somewhere around 2007, down all the way. And now we see that the parties resemble certain parties now because of the nature of their reorganization. A ruling government went to election and lost massively this way. Very massive.
Because of obvious economic situation that we saw.
But you see, my sister is not here. You would have answered it for you. She told you that the economy was in a recovery mood before they left. Recovery mood, and you got this thing. They said I shouldn't mention those figures.
But that was obviously too late. But that's a fact that the economy had begun.
No. It couldn't have. It couldn't have. You can't have 23.
What was the dollar? What was the dollar by the time they were
17
when it got to the peak?
17.
It was 14.
Oh, 17. We took over from them.
No.
They sent it to 53. Inflation went as far up to 53. At that time,
by the time they were taking over, inflation was.
It came down to 23.
Correct.
Who brought it down there?
That's recovery.
Is it not the same
recovery?
I'm saying that.
That's what she meant. So you are just confirming what she said.
You send me to 53. A lot of people died because of this. Their economy.
And for that reason, they got punished.
So because they got
punished at the time when the recovery was setting in. That's what you are being told.
I am saying that if there was a recovery, Ghanaians wouldn't have given them 87 seats in parliament. And their presidential candidate was struggling to cross 40%. They wouldn't have gotten that way. At least they would have been managing somewhere around 47, 48%. And to have been very close because they've seen that a recovery is going on. There was nothing recovery. People were suffering. People were dying like chicken in this thing. Then they counted businesses collapsed.
Saying that the facts you have narrated yourself, the two facts, don't confirm what you are saying.
I am saying that this thing that we are seeing, because they sent us to 53%, and Ghanaians were crying, they said they were recovering. They came down and they were coming down to 23. After 23, Ghanaians saw that these people, they were at their wit end. There was nothing they could do about it. The only thing is to get them out. Okay, even their own party people wanted them out. Okay, now they've lost massively. Instead of them to go and reorganize your party, change the people who sent you to get this less than 40%, and then 87 in parliament, they refuse. They want the same group to elect a presidential candidate for them. Do you think they are going to change the presidential candidate?
But they are still following your example. You didn't change on Mahama.
We went for election.
You didn't change him.
We went for election.
Those who dared to contest John Mahama, we know what happened.
Do you know what we did? We organized a party from the branches after the 2016. 2022, I was in Ashanti region. I helped in the organization of Ashanti region and Eastern and all that. to do the branch elections. After the branch election, we went ahead to do constituency, regional election, national election. I was a member of the National Election Task Force that organized the national election. That elected General Mosquito as chairman, and there are
because they haven't done it your way. So
I am saying not our way, because we wanted to reorganize the party effectively, and that made the party very strong, had a good pedestal, and that's why we gave them this demolition tax in 2024.
How many people did you change in your national executive?
A lot.
Executive.
A lot. The face of the national executive changed. And the regional too.
But they have not had that election now, so you can't tell if somebody.
So I'm saying that if they had done that, the narrative today would have been different. It would have been completely different. I don't think
that's a presumption, though.
Not a presumption. It's because on the ground,
telling.
You see, on the ground, I say I have observers there. They are all over the place. They are sending me a lot of messages. You wait. We'll start bringing the results by 2:30 thereabout. You see. Because we don't trust them. They will come and bring cook results to make the candidate look nice in the general public that he has scored this, which will not be the reflection.
You don't trust the Electoral Commission, which is organizing this?
No, I don't trust them. You know,
the Electoral Commission you don't trust is the one whose back you wrote to be in government.
Council, since 2024, we've never trusted this Electoral Commission. You know, we fought them. We said they were our first primary opponent in the election. Our second primary opponent was NPP. So we never trusted them. So why should they trust them? So that's why we have our collation center. We want to be sure that these people don't come out with anything.
Right.
That's different from the delegates.
Right.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yes,
Rashid, this is the first time meeting you. Brother, this is the first time meeting you, but I have a problem. The problem is that you've won your elections. You are ruling the nation, but always go back and do propaganda. And I think I will take exception to some of the things he said, because I'm on the committee.
Right.
For you to say that we have cooked, you know, the election for one person and all that, I don't think it's right. And I believe that you may have to redraw that. The second thing is that you said people were dying like chicken. That wasn't the case. Even during COVID, where America, the United States, could not even handle their COVID situation, we were able to handle it as a country. So we should move away from the politics and let us tell the truth, at least for once, to the nation.
We can stay with the politics, but it should be factual.
Factual, that's truth is facts. So the factual, so that at the end of the day, we are not at each other's throat, but rather we are working in the interest of the nation. You understand? But where you try and derogate others, for example, when you say such a thing whilst I'm seated here, that we've cooked for one candidate or the other, I don't think it's fair. The other thing is that we've made sure that all the candidates were talked to. Is their followers were at each other's throat. And over time, you realize that when they started, it was bad, but getting closer, you realize that things went down, because at the end of the day, we're asking the candidates to speak to their followers and to make sure that they do not, say derogatory things against each other's candidates. But at the end of the day, whoever wins, we're going to market the person and we're going to use the person's achievements. So whatever you say against that person can be used by the opposing side, which is my brother Tanko and the others, against that person. So that is something that I want to.
So do we understand that in this election you've left everything in the hands of the Electoral Commission, or you have a role you are playing?
No, we don't have any role at all. In fact,
so in the end, if anybody has any issue, it will be about the Electoral Commission.
That's it. So nobody, even the committee, we do not have any representation at the regions. If there are any issues, whoever has an issue contacts the Electoral Commission as is done in the national election, and then they will resolve it. If it has to do with album or anything, it will be resolved by the Electoral Commission, unless, of course, they want to seek our intervention. Then they will call at the national headquarters where we have an operational team. You understand? So everything concerning election, electoral, and then when it comes to security, all of our security rests with the police. In areas where they think they are going to have problems like Boku and other places, they are going to liaise with the military to assist them, to give maximum protection.
So at the 277 voting centers, the 332 polling stations, 332 polling stations, you leave it to EC and the candidates rep, but you as the committee don't have an eye there.
Not that we don't have an eye. The point is that we have done all that it takes, and therefore we believe the EC has the wherewithal to do the work that we've asked them to do. What is important is getting the ballot papers, getting the albums which have been verified, exhibited, and all that by all the candidates. And then also to make sure that the processes are followed. Of course, when the process is followed and there's a problem, it is for the rep to draw the attention of the presiding officer. And then the EC chairperson also assured us that at the close of the day, if any malfeasance or any practices go on in a particular polling station where she thinks it will undermine the electoral process, she is ready to annul that particular polling.
That's sort of a quashing to the candidates and
everybody, including all the reps and all those who are campaigning for. And then we've all accepted it as it is. The police also assured us that because they are taking over, if you go and mess up, they are ready to take you in and keep you in their cells.
So whilst the process is ongoing, if anybody has a complaint, how do they resolve it?
You have a complaint at the police station. Either your name is not in the register, which is the only thing you can complain about. And if your name is not in the register, you complain to the EC person. But at the end of the day, we did exhibition and all that. And I don't think anybody would walk in there and say, my name is not in the register.
Okay.
We've done validation. We've done exhibition. And then also we give the booklets to all hard copies, to all the constituencies for people to go make sure their names. So for us, God being so good, the system and the situation should.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwabena Abankwayebua. But before you go in 30 seconds, what do you make of this suit that is seeking for you guys to expand your electoral college to every member of the party getting a right to vote, instead of keeping to this expanded, which is 211,000, almost 212,000 voters?
So before then, let me just say a few words about reconciliation.
Okay.
And all that. I've always believed that a good leader is that person who accepts defeat easily and is ready to reconcile. Likewise, as my brother said, the person who wins should have the wherewithal to pull others together. This election is a test situation, and we all will know whether we have good leaders when people lose out, the way they will behave and how they will get themselves back into the party.
Okay.
Likewise, the leadership.
All right.
And for us as a party, we believe that everything is the elephant. Therefore, when you win or you lose, you come under the elephant and help. Now, the issue of expanding the delegates, I think that as is done in Parliament. Parliament is a representation of all the constituencies and people within the constituency. Likewise, our constitution and the party. So the delegate system is a representation, and it helps us in an operational ability. And therefore, we believe that expanding at this stage, is not what we want. We rather want to make sure that what we have achieved by the little expansion, we have almost 215 or 11 delegates. We make sure that we rather use them to the benefit of the party and its operations.
Thank you very much. Those who have joined us this morning for this discussion on Newsfile, and don't go anywhere because our coverage will continue with Evans Mensah and the crack team, Winston Amwa and the rest of them, MFR, all of them are here. Fatima Abubakar, former Minister for Information and spokesperson to His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was here earlier. She left a while ago. Dr. John Osai Kwapong, Democracy and Development Fellow, CDD Ghana, and Project Director, the Democracy Project. Kwame Akufo was supposed to join us. He couldn't do so. Kwabena Abankwayabwa is Vice Chairman, Presidential Elections Committee of the NPP. He's former National Treasurer of the NPP. Sofo Tanko Rashid, Computer Deputy National Director of Elections and IT of the NDC, and he's the CEO of GIFEC. Dr. Arthur Kobina Kennedy, physician and political activist, has also been with us. Thank you very much. We'll write here, MFA Adeti. She joins us now. So good afternoon and welcome. I'm sure you've been enjoying it and you wish, like I was wishing this morning, that I would just sit in my room and enjoy your analysis.
I'm cool. Yes. Quite a pleasure and an honor.
I wanted to ask you that. How was he?
Quite a pleasure done.
Right.
Okay. Well, good afternoon and welcome to our special coverage of the New Patriotic Party presidential primaries. Now, this afternoon, more than 200,000 delegates across the country are deciding who leads the NPP into the next general election. Voting is taking place in all 276 constituencies and other special voting centers, making this one of the party's most extensive and closely watched internal contest. The outcome of today's exercise will not only shape the future leadership of the